I want you to picture two houses. Same city, same street, similar rent. The first house belongs to someone earning $91,000 a year. Walk inside and you will find an 80-inch television mounted on the wall, a leather sectional that cost $4,500, a kitchen packed with appliances, most still in their original boxes, closets overflowing with clothes, many with price tags still attached, a spare bedroom converted into storage for items that have not been touched in years. This person checks their bank account with a knot in their stomach. They are 2 missed paychecks away from real crisis. The second house belongs to someone earning $49,000 a year. Walk inside and you will notice space. A modest sofa, a reasonably sized television, a kitchen with exactly the tools that get used regularly, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is actually a bedroom. This person checks their bank account with calm confidence. They have 18 months of expenses saved and invest 20% of every paycheck. Same street. The person earning nearly half as much has close to 10 times the financial security. If you enjoy content like this, follow this channel right now. We cover real financial strategies that can change your life. This is not a story about income. It is a story about the hidden relationship between stuff and money that most people never fully understand. The first person is not bad with money in any obvious way. They do not gamble. They do not have expensive addictions. They just gradually accumulated a lifestyle that requires every single dollar they earn to maintain. The second person discovered something that changed everything. They learned that owning less does not mean living worse. It means living with intention, and intentional living creates financial margin that most high earners never experience. My name is John Austin. I am an economist. And today, I am going to walk you through the minimalist money rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do, regardless of income. These rules are not about deprivation. They are about understanding that every object you own carries ongoing costs you have probably never stopped to calculate. Let me start with a concept that will reframe how you think about every purchase you make for the rest of your life. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is obvious. It is the purchase price, the number on the receipt. But there is a second cost that most people completely ignore, and it is often larger than the first. The second cost includes storage, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. That treadmill you bought requires space in your home. Space costs money, roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually in most urban areas. A treadmill takes up about 20 square feet when you account for clearance space. That is $600 to $1,000 per year. In hidden rent, you are paying just to store exercise equipment that probably holds clothes most of the time. The second cost also includes maintenance and upkeep. That boat sitting in your driveway needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and occasional repairs. Standard industry estimates suggest annual maintenance costs run about 10% of the boat's value. A $30,000 boat costs $3,000 per year just to own, even if you never take it on the water. I am not done yet. The second cost includes mental energy too. Every item you own occupies a small slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, insured, worried about, and eventually disposed of. Researchers have found that visual clutter increases cortisol levels and reduces the brain's ability to focus. Your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you cannot consciously perceive. Not over yet. The second cost includes opportunity cost. Every dollar locked up in possessions is a dollar not invested. That $15,000 home gym setup could have been $15,000 in index funds growing to $50,000 or more over 15 years. You did not just buy a home gym. You bought a home gym instead of future financial freedom. When you add up these hidden costs, many possessions cost more to own than they originally cost to buy. The purchase price is just the entry fee. The ongoing costs continue for as long as you hold on to the item. People who practice minimalism understand this intuitively. They are not avoiding possessions because they dislike nice things. They are avoiding possessions because they have calculated the true cost and decided most things are not worth it. This brings us to the first rule. Rule 1. Calculate cost per use before any purchase. Before buying anything, estimate how many times you will realistically use it. Divide the total cost by that number. This gives you the cost per use, which is the only honest measure of value. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per use. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2 per use. The more expensive jacket is actually far cheaper in any meaningful sense. This calculation destroys most impulse purchases immediately. That $300 kitchen gadget you will use twice a year costs $150 per use over the first year. That is an expensive way to accomplish whatever task it performs. Meanwhile, a $30 tool you use every week costs less than 60 cents per use over that same year. Cost per use also reveals which purchases are genuinely worthwhile. A $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years costs about 55 cents per use. That is outstanding value for something affecting your health and energy every day. A $1,500 espresso machine used daily for 5 years costs less than $1 per use and likely saves money compared to coffee shop visits. The math cuts through marketing, emotion, and social pressure. It reveals what actually makes financial sense versus what just feels appealing in the moment. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home and look at each item you possess. Ask yourself one simple question. If this item disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you actually go buy another fondue set? Would you replace that bread maker collecting dust in the cabinet? Would you repurchase those clothes you have not worn in 18 months? For most items, the honest answer is no. They exist in your life through inertia, not intention. They were impulse purchases, gifts you felt obligated to keep, or remnants of past hobbies and phases you have moved beyond. These items have negative value. They cost you space, mental energy, and maintenance without providing real benefit. Every hour spent organizing or thinking about items you would not replace is an hour taken from activities that actually matter. Minimalists ruthlessly eliminate items that fail the replacement test. They sell what has value, donate what someone else could use, and discard what serves no one. The process feels uncomfortable at first and then liberating once done. Rooms feel larger. Decisions feel simpler. Cleaning takes half the time. You know where everything is because everything remaining has a purpose. Leave a comment below and tell us, what is the most expensive item you own that you rarely use? We read every comment. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. There is a pattern I see constantly among people who earn solid incomes but have very little to show for it. They upgrade perfectly functional items simply because they are bored with them or because newer versions exist. Their television works perfectly, but the new model has a slightly better contrast. Their phone operates flawlessly, but the latest release has a marginally improved camera. Their car runs reliably, but the current year model has updated styling. Their furniture serves its purpose, but they have grown tired of looking at it. These upgrades feel like improvements. They are actually wealth destruction dressed up as progress. Minimalists hold to a firm rule: never replace something that still functions properly. The phone that makes calls, sends messages, and runs apps does not need replacement just because a newer phone exists. The car that reliably gets you where you need to go does not need replacement because a neighbor bought something with a flashier look. This policy saves enormous amounts of money over a lifetime. The average person replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years while the previous one still works perfectly. Over 30 years, the pattern costs between $30,000 and $50,000 in unnecessary purchases. Applied across all categories where upgrade culture operates, The lifetime waste easily exceeds $200,000. Minimalists escape this trap by defining what functional actually means. An item remains functional until it genuinely fails to serve its purpose. Boredom is not failure. Novelty is not failure. Newer alternatives are not failure. Actual breakdown or inability to perform required tasks is failure. Everything else is marketing convincing you to solve problems you do not have. Rule 4. Create friction for spending and ease for saving. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is easy and saving is hard, you will spend. If saving is easy and spending is hard, you will save. Minimalists design their environment so the right choice is also the easy choice. Spending friction means removing stored credit card numbers from online retailers. It means requiring a 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase. It means deleting shopping apps from your phone, unsubscribing from promotional emails, and avoiding stores unless you have a specific purchase already decided. Saving ease means automatic transfers to investment accounts on payday. It means keeping only small amounts in easily accessible checking, making contributions happen before you see the money, and treating savings like a fixed expense rather than an afterthought. These structural changes matter far more than willpower. Willpower depletes throughout the day. Your environment stays constant. Someone relying on willpower to avoid impulse purchases will eventually fail when tired, stressed, or emotional. Someone who deleted the shopping apps and removed their stored credit cards simply cannot impulse purchase in that moment. Minimalists design systems that make good decisions automatic. The 24-hour waiting rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects fade within a day if not acted upon immediately. Rule 5. Count your possessions regularly. This sounds obsessive until you actually try it. Counting forces awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick one category. Count how many items you own in it. Write it down. The numbers often shock people who have never examined their consumption habits objectively. How many shirts do you own? Most people guess low and discover they have 3 or 4 times what they estimated. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many books you will never read again? The act of counting itself changes behavior. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying another feels different. You are not adding a shirt. You are bringing your collection to 48. The absurdity becomes visible. Minimalists track key categories over time. They set maximum thresholds, perhaps 30 items of clothing total, perhaps 15 books at any time, perhaps a one-in, one-out policy where any new purchase requires removing something existing. These limits prevent lifestyle creep. Without intentional limits, possessions expand to fill available space. With limits, each addition requires a conscious decision. That friction alone dramatically reduces unnecessary buying. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you buy. Most items people purchase get used intensively for a short period and then rarely afterward. The excitement of newness fades. The initial enthusiasm drops off. The item joins the collection of things owned but seldom touched. Minimalists test this by renting or borrowing before committing to ownership. Want to get into camping? Rent equipment for the first few trips. Want to try woodworking? Borrow tools from a friend or use a shared workshop space. Want a kayak? Rent several times before purchasing. This approach accomplishes 2 things. First, it reveals whether the enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests fade quickly after the initial exploration. Better to discover this while renting than after buying equipment that collects dust indefinitely. Second, it clarifies exactly what you need. First-time campers often buy too much or the wrong things entirely. Renting lets you learn before you commit. When you eventually purchase, you buy precisely what is necessary rather than guessing. The buy-first mentality costs people enormously over their lifetimes. Closets and garages everywhere contain dusty remnants of abandoned interests. Ski equipment from the phase when they thought they would hit the slopes, photography gear from when they imagined becoming serious photographers, music equipment from bands that played 2 shows. Minimalists avoid turning their homes into museums of past enthusiasm. They test interests before investing real money and keep the flexibility to explore without the burden of ownership. Rule 7. Understand the lifestyle multiplier effect. Every possession you own connects to other possessions. A boat requires a trailer, a vehicle with a hitch, storage fees, maintenance supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. A purchase that appears singular actually triggers a cascade of supporting purchases. That is the lifestyle multiplier. Major purchases expand into ecosystems of related expenses. The true cost is never just the item itself. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, ventilation, and often renovation to make the space suitable. A swimming pool requires chemical supplies, cleaning equipment, covers, outdoor furniture, and maintenance tools. A motorcycle requires safety gear, secure storage, maintenance equipment, and often a truck or trailer for transport to riding areas. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. They know that a $5,000 purchase might actually represent $8,000 or $12,000 when all the multiplier expenses are counted. That full accounting often turns what seemed reasonable into something clearly excessive. The multiplier effect also runs in reverse. Eliminating one major possession often eliminates an entire category of related costs. Selling the boat means no more storage fees, insurance, registration, maintenance, or towing. The savings reach far beyond the item's resale value. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning. Here's something that traps high earners constantly. They never define what enough looks like. So they keep purchasing more without ever arriving at real satisfaction. Income goes up, so the lifestyle follows. The new lifestyle becomes normal, so they need another income increase to feel progress. This cycle runs on indefinitely. People earning $300,000 can feel just as financially stretched as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded alongside their income. Minimalists break this cycle by defining enough in advance. They decide what kind of home is sufficient, what kind of car meets their needs, what level of material comfort is genuinely satisfying. Then they earn toward that target rather than constantly moving the goalpost. This might mean deciding that a $350,000 home is enough even if you could eventually afford $600,000. It might mean a $30,000 car is enough even when colleagues drive $70,000 vehicles. It might mean your current wardrobe is enough even as your income could support constant upgrades. Defining enough creates a finish line. Without one, you are running a race that never ends, where lifestyle expansion always outpaces income growth. With one, you reach a point where additional income flows entirely to saving and investing rather than consumption. The person who defined enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then built income to $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. The $90,000 gap between income and enough goes directly to financial freedom. Meanwhile, someone earning the same $150,000 but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. Rule 9. Measure wealth by options, not accumulation. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: houses, cars, possessions, visible markers of success. Minimalists measure it differently. They measure wealth by what they are free to choose. Can you leave a job that is destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off to handle a family emergency? Can you move to a different city for a relationship? Can you start a business without guaranteed income? Can you retire before 65? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? Those choices represent real wealth. They are only available to people who have built a meaningful gap between their income and their expenses. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no real options. They are locked to their income. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary options. They can absorb disruptions, take risks, and make choices based on what they genuinely want. Minimalists understand that real freedom requires liquid resources more than physical possessions. The money tied up in a car you do not need cannot buy your independence when you need it. The equity locked in excess house cannot fund a career change or extended break. Each purchase is not just trading money for an object. It is trading freedom for possession. Is this item worth reducing your ability to make free choices about your own life? Sometimes yes, far more often no. Rule 10. Practice regular decluttering rather than annual purging. Most people who try minimalism do one massive cleanup, feel great for a few weeks, and then gradually accumulate back to where they started. The initial purge feels productive. The slow reaccumulation goes unnoticed. Within 2 years, they are right back at square one. Minimalists avoid this through cyclical decluttering. Rather than one big annual event, they carry out small, regular reviews, weekly glances at incoming items, monthly evaluation of one category, quarterly check of overall accumulation trends. This ongoing approach catches accumulation early before it builds back to overwhelming levels. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once a year feels like a major project and often gets postponed indefinitely. Regular reviews also maintain awareness. When you evaluate your possessions consistently, you notice patterns. You see which categories grow fastest, which emotional states trigger buying, and which marketing tactics work specifically on you. That awareness enables prevention rather than just reactive cleanup. Here is a practical plan you can start today. This week, walk through your home with the replacement test in mind. Identify 10 items you would not replace if they disappeared. Sell, donate, or discard those items. This month, put the 24-hour rule into practice for every non-essential purchase. Track how many buying impulses survive the wait versus how many simply evaporate. The data will show you how much of your spending is impulsive rather than intentional. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories that tend to accumulate. Clothing, kitchen items, and entertainment are good starting points. Set a maximum limit for each category based on what you genuinely use. Define what enough looks like across your major spending areas. What home is truly sufficient? What transportation actually meets your needs? What wardrobe serves your real life? Write those definitions down and refer back to them when temptation arises. The financial shift from these practices compounds over time. Someone applying these rules consistently for 5 years accumulates substantially less while saving substantially more. The gap between their lifestyle costs and their income creates wealth that cannot be built any other way. Here's something almost no one mentions when talking about minimalism and money. The relationship runs in both directions. Owning less creates more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel entirely natural. When your savings account is strong and your investments are growing, the drive to accumulate simply diminishes. The need for security and the desire for status get satisfied by real financial strength rather than physical possessions. You no longer need the stuff to feel successful because your financial position already tells you what you need to know. People stuck in consumption cycles often cannot explain why they keep buying so much. The answer is usually that spending temporarily fills an emotional gap that financial insecurity creates. Address that insecurity through real financial progress, and the compulsion to spend tends to fade on its own. This creates what I, as an economist, call a virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more builds real security. Security reduces the urge to spend. Reduced spending accelerates saving further. Each turn of the cycle strengthens the next. The opposite cycle is equally powerful but deeply destructive. Spending everything creates insecurity, which drives more spending as temporary relief. More spending deepens the insecurity. The cycle continues until some external shock forces a breaking point. The choice between these two cycles shapes your financial future far more than your income ever will. High earners caught in the destructive cycle build nothing lasting. Modest earners riding the virtuous cycle build real freedom. The minimalist rules I have laid out are not about suffering or going without. They are about recognizing that most consumption does not actually improve life satisfaction. Research consistently shows that beyond a basic level of security and comfort, additional purchases add very little to genuine well-being. Yet most people spend as if happiness rises in a straight line with spending. Minimalists align their choices with what the evidence shows. They spend enough to be comfortable and redirect the excess toward freedom rather than accumulation. They end up with fewer things and a better life. That house I described at the beginning, the one belonging to someone earning $49,000 with 18 months of savings, belongs to someone applying these rules consistently. They did not get there through exceptional income. They got there through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. The other house, the one belonging to someone earning $91,000 who is 2 paychecks from crisis, belongs to someone who never stopped to question whether more stuff means a better life. Both paths are available to you right now, regardless of what you earn. The only question is whether you want to own your possessions or whether you are comfortable letting your possessions own you. The numbers strongly favor the first option. So does the peace of mind that comes with it. If this video helped you think differently about money and the things around you, make sure to follow this channel. Leave a comment below telling us what your very first step will be after watching this. This is John Austin, and we will see you in the next one.